Hello.
Hello, is that Mica Paris?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Misha. It's Lee here from Heartfm. How are you?
I'm all right, darling. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Are you okay to
Nice.
do an interview now?
Yeah.
Great. I want to talk to you, if I can, first of all, a little bit about yourself and your sort of start in music, because music played a massive part in your early life, didn't it? With gospel and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing was, Pentecostal churches are very much like how they are. Is that it's very musical. Music is every part of your life. You have choir practice. You have just lots of singing. I mean, it's just everywhere you go. At home, in my house, it was like there was two classically trained pianists in my house, who were my uncle and my aunt, and they were always playing all the time their recitals. So I was just, everywhere I went, music was everywhere. I couldn't escape it.
Must have been a fantastic sort of period in your life, sort of growing up with all that musical influence around you.
It was amazing. I mean, listen, it was like, if it wasn't that we were hearing music in the house, we were either performing at church or performing for, like the family members who were coming to visit on a Sunday. Because you know how it was always like, okay, can you sing for your uncle, blah, blah, and it was that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just constant performing. I couldn't escape it. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. But it was fun. The only bit I didn't like, really, it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just a bit boring, when they were ministering, like when they would preach.
Oh, yeah.
That part went on for ages. Oh, it was so long. So long.
Now, when you were 17, you got involved in the UK band Hollywood Beyond as one of the backing singers?
That's right. And I auditioned for it, and I was doing art and design at school, and basically I got asked to join this group if I wanted to go for the audition, and I was hearing about how much money I could make from it. So college, I wasn't really making any money, so I went to the audition. Thank goodness I got it, and that was great. And then I got the job, and it was great.
And then came the Fourth and Broadway signing, and you did the track "My One Temptation," which was fantastic.
Thank you.
Everybody loves that track.
It's a great song, and the funny thing is, everyone still likes the song, and it's really strange because I wouldn't have gotten that song had I not chosen those writers. Because I chose these. What was, I went in to see my A&R guy. He and I made the album together. He was fantastic. We did everything together. And he gave me like 10 different tapes. It was tapes in those days. And he put down 10 tapes for me to listen to of different writers. And the one that I fell in love with was this one song, and it was called Breathe Life Into Me. Yeah. And when I heard that song, I said, oh my gosh, who wrote that? Can you get those guys to come down and write with me to make the album? And he said, yeah. And he called up these guys, and they came down, Mick Leeson and Pete Vale, their names were. And I was gushing all over and said, oh, can you make me a whole album like Breathe Life Into Me? Because that's what I want to do. And they were like, yeah, no problem. But it took us a year. So we were in the studio for a year. We recorded Breathe Life first. And My One Temptation didn't come until the end of the album, a year later. They wrote it at the end.
Oh my God! Now you then got involved in the project, which was all about Nelson Mandela. In 1990, I guess that was the next major thing.
Oh, it was huge. That was Wembley. That just really kicked off. And I'm going to tell you how that happened. You're going to freak when you hear this. It's really weird. It was like Natalie Cole was a friend of mine at this point. I'd met her when I'd been in LA for like the first time in my whole life. She was such a sweetheart. And she flew to London, and she was just a fan of that first album, my first album, and she just wouldn't stop ringing when she came to London. Come on, girl, let's go and hang out, blah, blah, blah. So I went to, she came to London, she goes, we're doing this amazing tribute to Nelson Mandela who's being released. And there's no British artists on there, Nisha. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's all American, but it's all right. I'll come and watch you. She was like, no, girl, I want you to be on that stage with me. I'm going to make sure that you're on it. She called my grandmother. I was visiting my grandmother on Sunday, for lunch. She called me at my grandmother's house to say, you're on the gig. I was like, what? It was so scary. So if it wasn't for Natalie Cole, I wouldn't have been on that gig.
Oh, wow. What a fabulous story.
Yeah, it's true.
The other thing that amazed me is you had a track written for you by Prince.
Yeah, God, that's weird. Oh, yeah. Well,
And you
He's a
recorded that
funny
at
one.
Paisley Park.
Yeah, well, he's like, he saw me in the audience at a show he was doing here. He was doing an after show here, a private gig at Camden Palace, and he just pushed the mic in my face in the middle of this gig and said, Mica Paris sang. And I was like, how the hell does he know who I am? I mean, I just released my presentation. It had just come out. I just couldn't understand how he knew who I was. Do you know what I mean? It was weird.
Wow.
And but anyway, I just started singing Just My Imagination, and it all kicked off, and it went nuts. And then he called me up afterwards and said, I'd like to come to Paisley. So I flew to Paisley, and he gave me these songs. And I chose the one song, yeah. Very, very, very nice guy, gotta say, very sweet.
I was going to say, what was it like working with Prince? Because he always seems such a, well, for the want of a better word, a strange guy to work for or with.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I was just totally in awe of him from the day I found out about him. So, for me, imagine you're looking at the person you've always idolized. I felt like I was about 5 years old when I was at Paisley Park. I felt like I was a kid in a sweet shop, and I could choose any sweets that I wanted. It was one of those. I think I was just in a state of shock the whole time. I sat there very quiet, and he would just say things like, I love your voice. Your voice reminds me of Shaka Khan when she was younger, and he would say stuff like that, because he doesn't say many things. He doesn't speak very much. And he was like, I'd like to do more. I'm working on a Batman soundtrack. And it was just stuff like that we were talking about. And it was just a bit of a mind-blowing experience. Because, you imagine I'm 19. It's like, oh, my gosh, I'm sitting in Paisley Park. It was just a bit of a freak out,
I can imagine.
Oh, God.
All the way through the 90s, you did lots and lots of collaborations and things like that. And towards the end of that, you did this fabulous one, which I remember. I've actually got a copy of it. I think it's superb, with Dave Gilmour and Jules Holland.
David's fantastic.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. That was a wonderful thing. That was. I mean, basically, it's Jules. I've known Jules forever from the time I began, really. And Jules was just like, he put that whole thing together because he and David were friends before I became friends with David. And he introduced the two of us, and we just clicked. And David just started playing. And when he plays, it's just like a religious experience, isn't it? Really. I mean, he's gone. He
doesn't look as though he should be, really. He just doesn't look like he plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's incredible, and he's a wonderful guy, and he's really, really amazing to work with. I mean, because it's all like a feeling with him. Do you know what I mean? Like he feels the vocal, and I feel his playing, and it's like we're just caught up in this vortex of just it's fantastic. So it's hard to explain if you're not a musician, but it's all about feel with David. And I'm very much about feel as a singer. So it's not about technically following the notes. It's about being led where you're going to go with it, with the vibe. You see what I mean? And he plays like a singer. It's the only way I can describe it. So for me, it was like doing a duet with a vocalist.
Wow.
That's the way he plays. Yeah, he's amazing.